Hello, friend. Welcome to Science for Sleep. Whether you are coming back tonight or discovering this quiet channel for the first time, this is a calm place to slow down, learn something gentle, and let the day softly fall away. Tonight, we are spending time with geckos, small lizards that many people first notice on a wall, a window, a porch light, or the side of a warm building after sunset. At first, a gecko can seem simple. A tiny body, 4 delicate legs, a long tail, wide eyes watching the dark. But the closer you look, the stranger it becomes. A gecko can rest on glass without glue. It can walk across a ceiling without suction cups. Some geckos can see color in light so dim that a human would see mostly gray. Many geckos cannot blink, so they clean their eyes by licking a clear scale that covers them like a tiny window. Some can leave their tail behind when danger comes near, and the tail may keep moving for a short time after it drops. A few kinds, like the mourning gecko, can even reproduce without males, allowing small female groups to start new populations in warm places across the world. All of this is hidden inside an animal that may weigh less than a few coins. There are more than 1,800 known species of geckos, and they live on every continent except Antarctica. They appear in deserts, rainforests, rocky islands, village walls, tree trunks, caves, gardens, and quiet corners of human homes. Some are dull brown and almost invisible against bark. Some are bright green, like the gold dust day gecko of Madagascar. Some, like the tokay gecko of Southeast Asia, are famous for loud calls that can sound almost like their name being repeated in the night. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, you're welcome to subscribe. And if it feels natural, to leave a comment sharing where you're listening from tonight. It helps others find their way to this calm corner of the world, one sleepy traveler at a time. The quiet continues here, just as it is. For now, just imagine one gecko on a wall after dark. Its body is still. Its toes are spread softly against the surface. Its skin may be pale grey, warm brown, sandy yellow, or marked with tiny spots. The wall may feel completely flat to you, but to the gecko, it is a landscape. There are small bumps, cracks, grains of dust, changes in texture, and tiny places where its feet can make contact. The most surprising part is that the foot is not wet or sticky. A gecko does not climb by leaving a glue trail behind. Under each toe are rows of very small hair-like structures called setae. A setae is much thinner than a human hair. Each one branches into even smaller tips that can press very close to a surface. When enough of these tiny tips touch the wall at once, they create a gentle pulling force between molecules. This force is called van der Waals force. That may sound complicated, but the idea is simple. When two surfaces come extremely close together, even if they are not wet or glued, their molecules can attract each other a little. One tiny attraction is weak. Millions of tiny attractions spread across the toes of a gecko can hold the animal against glass. Then, when the gecko wants to move, it changes the angle of its toes and peels them away. It does not have to yank itself loose. It simply releases the contact, one careful step at a time. So the gecko is not breaking the rules of nature. It is using rules so small and quiet that we do not notice them. The same animal that looks still on the wall is also carrying a whole system of physics beneath its feet. Its eyes are open because they often cannot close. Its tail is more than decoration. Its skin is part shield, part disguise. Its voice can turn a silent wall into a hidden nighttime signal. And its small body has been shaped by millions of years of climbing, hiding, hunting, escaping, and beginning again. The gecko invites a gentle kind of attention, not the loud attention of something huge or dangerous, but the softer attention that comes from realizing how much can be hidden in something small. A creature no longer than a finger can hold lessons about light, motion, touch, sound, survival, and the quiet power of evolution. So tonight, we will begin with that tiny body on the wall, the still shape in the dark, the soft toes holding fast, the little animal that seems ordinary, until every part of it begins to reveal a secret. That still shape on the wall is not shaped by accident. A gecko's body is small, light, and close to the surface beneath it. Many house geckos are only about 4 to 6 inches long, including the tail. Some are even smaller, while larger kinds, like the tokay gecko, can reach more than a foot in length. But even the larger ones keep a body plan that suits a life of climbing, hiding, and slipping through narrow spaces. The body is usually low and slightly flattened. The legs reach outward from the sides instead of hanging straight beneath the body, the way human legs do. This gives the gecko a wide, stable stance. On a wall, that matters. A tall animal would tip away from the surface more easily. A gecko stays close, keeping its weight pressed near the wall, bark, rock, or leaf where it is resting. Its ribs, spine, shoulders, and hips allow small shifts in shape as it moves. When a gecko walks over rough bark, its body can bend with the surface. When it slips into a crack, its soft belly and flexible sides help it fit through spaces that look too narrow. A gecko does not move like a stiff toy. It moves more like a living ribbon with legs. Its head pauses. Its body follows. Its tail balances the motion behind it. For an animal that may spend much of its life above the ground, balance is not just helpful, it is survival. A branch is not a road. A wall is not a floor. A leaf can bend, shake, or tilt under the smallest weight. A gecko's world is full of surfaces that turn in every direction. The side of a tree can be a path. The underside of a leaf can be shelter. A ceiling can be crossed like quiet, open ground. A stone wall can hold warmth long after sunset, and that warmth can attract insects. For a gecko, the world is not divided into floor and wall the way it is for us. It is more like a sideways landscape. There are cliffs small enough to run across, caves small enough to hide inside, branches that become bridges, windows that become hunting grounds. The animal is built for that tilted world. Its toes spread wide to meet surfaces. Its claws help on rough bark and stone. Its tail helps steady the body when it turns, climbs, stops, or drops down to a new surface. In many species, the tail also stores fat. That stored energy can help the animal survive when food is scarce. In dry places, where insects may appear only after rain or during certain seasons, Carrying energy in the tail can matter. Some geckos live in rainforests, where leaves stay wet and insects move through warm air. Some live in deserts, where the ground cools quickly after sunset, and hiding during the day can protect them from heat. Some live on islands, where a small animal may find shelter in palm trunks, lava rock, limestone cracks, or the walls of human buildings. The gold dust day gecko, found in Madagascar and nearby islands, is bright green with red and yellow markings. It moves through leaves and flowers in daylight. The leopard gecko, native to dry regions of Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Iran, and Nepal, lives closer to the ground and has movable eyelids, unlike many wall-climbing geckos. The tokay gecko, from South and Southeast Asia, is larger, stronger, blue-grey with orange spots, and famous for its loud call. These animals are all geckos, but they do not all live the same life. Some are active by day. Many are active at night. Some have wide toe pads. Some have claws and toes better suited for the ground. Some are smooth and pale. Others look rough, spotted, striped, or leaf-shaped. This is why a gecko is not one simple creature repeated again and again. It is a whole group of reptiles shaped by different places, different surfaces, and different dangers. The name gecko points to a wide family of small survival designs. Yet even with all that variety, the same quiet theme keeps returning. A gecko must meet the surface well. Its belly stays low. Its limbs spread outward. Its tail steadies the body. Its head watches the tiny movements nearby. Every part helps it belong to walls, bark, ceilings, leaves, and stone. But when the small animal begins to move across smooth glass, the body alone is not enough. The shape helps. The balance helps. The lightweight helps. Still, the deepest secret is waiting under each toe. The deepest secret under a gecko's toe is not glue. It is not slime. It is not a tiny suction cup. If a gecko used glue, it would leave a sticky trail behind on glass. If it used suction, each toe would need to seal tightly against the surface, the way a rubber cup seals against a window. But a gecko's foot is dry. It can step on a wall, lift away, and leave almost nothing behind. No wet print, no glue mark, no visible trace. The underside of many climbing gecko toes is lined with soft ridges called toe pads. From far away, those pads may look like tiny folds of skin. Under magnification, they look more like rows of fine combs. Each row is covered in thousands of hair-like structures called setae. A single setae is extremely small. It is much thinner than a human hair, and it is made of keratin, the same general material found in human fingernails, hair, and the outer layer of skin. Keratin can be tough, but in a gecko's toe, it is arranged in a very delicate way. Each seta branches at the end into even smaller tips. These tiny tips are often called spatulae because their shape is a little like a flat spatula. They are so small that they can press very close to a surface, closer than dust, closer than the tiny scratches your eye can see on glass. This is where the quiet power begins. A wall may look smooth to us, but it is not truly smooth. Glass, paint, stone, bark, and leaves all have tiny rises and dips. A gecko's foot can spread into those small details, not by melting into them, not by sticking like honey, but by making millions of gentle points of contact at once. Each single contact is weak. One tiny tip could not hold a gecko, but millions of tips sharing the work can create enough attraction to support the animal's weight. The force involved is called van der Waals force. That name may sound heavy, but the basic idea is gentle. All matter is made of atoms and molecules. When two surfaces come extremely close together, the tiny electrical patterns inside their molecules can tug on each other just a little. The tug is very weak. You do not feel it when you touch a wall because your skin does not get close enough to the wall at enough tiny points. But a gecko's toe does. Its foot is built to bring many small tips close to the surface all at once. A tokay gecko, one of the stronger climbing geckos, can hang from smooth glass because its toe pads create contact across an enormous number of tiny points. The animal may only weigh a few ounces, but its feet are organized with remarkable care. The work is divided. No single part does everything. One toe helps, then another. One row of setae presses close, then thousands more beside it do the same. Together, they turn a flat wall into something the gecko can hold. This is one reason geckos have fascinated scientists and engineers. For years, people tried to make tapes and climbing materials inspired by gecko feet. The goal was not to copy stickiness. It was to copy dry contact. A gecko foot can attach, detach, and attach again many times without drying out, running out of glue, or becoming useless after one step. That is very different from ordinary tape. Tape works because a soft adhesive spreads onto a surface. Dust and dirt can ruin it. Pull it off enough times, and it loses strength. A gecko foot is different. It is more like a living brush made of microscopic contact points. Even the way the toes look from below hints at this design. The pads spread wide. The toes flatten. The whole foot becomes a quiet instrument for touching the world closely. And still, the gecko does not seem trapped by its own gift. It can walk. It can pause. It can turn. It can hang beneath a surface and then move again, as if the wall were only another kind of ground. A foot that holds too well would become a problem. A creature stuck to the wall could not hunt, hide, or escape. So the same toes that grip the surface must also know how to let go. A gecko's foot is powerful because it can hold, but it is useful because it can let go. That balance is what makes each step possible. If the tiny setae under the toes stayed attached all the time, the gecko would not be free. It would be fastened to the wall like a stamp on paper. Instead, the animal controls its grip by changing the angle of its toes. The setae work best when they lean in the right direction and press close to the surface. When the gecko places its foot down, the toe pads spread. The tiny tips touch the wall. The angle lines up. The forces begin to add together. For a moment, the foot becomes part of the surface. Then, when the gecko needs to move, it does not pull the foot straight away. It peels the toes back. This peeling motion is one of the most important details in the whole system. Think of a strip of tape on a table. If you try to lift the whole strip straight up at once, it resists. But if you start at one corner and peel it back slowly, the tape releases much more easily. A gecko uses a living version of that idea. It lifts the toe from the edge, the contact breaks in a controlled wave. The setae no longer sit at the right angle. Their tiny attractions weaken. The foot comes free. This happens very quickly, but it is not random. High-speed camera studies have shown that geckos can place and release their feet in tiny fractions of a second. As the animal runs, each step is a soft sequence of contact, grip, peel, and lift. The toes often curl and uncurl as they move. On many geckos, the toe can bend upward in a way that looks almost backward compared with a human finger. This motion is sometimes called digital hyperextension. That simply means the toe bends beyond the usual straight position, so it can peel away from the surface. It looks delicate, but it is a careful, mechanical trick. The gecko does not need to think about each microscopic hair. Its nervous system controls the larger movement of the foot. The toe angle handles the small physics underneath. When the toes are pressed and dragged lightly in one direction, they grip. When they are peeled in the opposite direction, they release. This is why a gecko can walk without becoming trapped by its own feet. The grip is directional. It depends on how the setae are lined up. That also explains why the animal's movements look so smooth. The foot does not snap loose. It does not tear away. It does not leave sticky threads behind. It simply changes shape, and the wall lets it go. On rough bark, claws may help. On stone, the pads and claws can work together. On glass, where claws have almost nothing to catch, the toe pads become especially important. A gecko on a window may press each foot down with a quiet little spread of the toes, then lift them away with a soft rolling motion. The body stays low. The belly hovers close to the surface. The tail follows behind, helping to steady each turn. If the animal stops, the feet hold. If it needs to move, the same feet release. This is different from glue, which has no choice. Glue grips until it dries, tears, or is pulled apart. A gecko foot is more like a switch. Not an electrical switch, a physical one. Angle on, grip. Angle off, release. That is why scientists have tried to copy gecko feet for climbing robots, reusable tape, medical bandages, and tools that can hold objects without leaving residue. The gecko solved the problem long before humans studied it in laboratories. It solved it on tree trunks, cave walls, warm rocks, and leaves moving gently in the night air. Each step is a small act of timing. Too little contact, and the foot slips. Too much contact without release, and the animal cannot move. But a gecko keeps finding the middle place. It holds just enough. It lets go just enough. And because of that, it can move across a wall with almost no sound. The strange part is that a wall is still only the beginning. The same tiny system can carry the body onto a ceiling, where every step hangs from below, and the whole animal moves through the dark upside down. A gecko moving across a ceiling turns a quiet room upside down. To us, the ceiling is the part of the room that belongs above everything. It holds light fixtures, shadows, corners, and the faint lines where walls meet plaster. It is not a place for footsteps, but to a gecko, it can become another path. The animal climbs from a wall onto the flat surface above, and for a moment, its whole body hangs beneath its own feet. Its head points forward. Its belly faces the floor. Its tail trails behind like a small balancing rope. Every step depends on tiny contact points so small that they cannot be seen with the naked eye. The weight of the body is not held by one toe or one claw. It is shared. One foot holds while another foot reaches. One toe pad presses close while another begins to peel away. Millions of microscopic tips under the toes touch the ceiling at once, each adding a faint pull that becomes strong only because the work is spread across so many points. For a human, the closest comparison would be walking calmly across the underside of a table, not crawling on top of it, not hanging from it with hands, but walking beneath it step by step, as if the bottom of the table were ordinary ground. The idea feels impossible because our bodies are not built for that surface. Our feet need gravity pressing them down. Our shoes need friction. Our hands can grip edges, but they cannot make a smooth ceiling become a walkway. A gecko is different because its foot does not wait for gravity to help. It brings its own way of making contact. When one foot lands, the toes spread. The setae line up. The tiny tips press close enough for their weak molecular attraction to matter. The foot holds. The body shifts forward. Then the toes lift by peeling back, not by pulling straight down. Attach, hold, peel, release, step. The rhythm is simple to picture, even if the structure beneath it is incredibly small. A gecko does not need to slam its feet into the ceiling. It does not need to scrape or claw at the surface. On smooth glass or painted walls, claws may not help much at all. The toe pads do most of the quiet work. Researchers studying gecko movement have measured how fast and controlled these steps can be. Some geckos can run across smooth vertical surfaces at impressive speed, placing and lifting their feet many times in a single second. Yet when seen in a calm room at night, the motion can look almost unhurried. The little body pauses near a corner. One foot lifts, another holds. The tail makes a slight adjustment. Then the gecko continues. Even upside down, its body stays close to the surface. That closeness matters. If the body sagged too far away from the ceiling, the feet would have to fight a stronger pull. By keeping its limbs spread and its body low, the gecko reduces the strain on each step. The wide stance that helped on walls also helps overhead. The animal becomes a small bridge between its own feet. Each limb shares the load. The ceiling no longer feels like empty space above the room. It becomes a textured plane. There may be tiny bumps in paint, dust near a corner, a seam where two materials meet, a faint warmth around a lamp. At night, insects may gather near that warmth and light, turning the ceiling into a hunting ground. The gecko can wait there, upside down, held by physics too small to see. This is one reason geckos feel almost unreal when watched closely. They do not seem to be fighting the room. They seem to belong to parts of it that other animals cannot use. The wall is a path. The ceiling is a floor. The corner is a resting place. The window is a hunting ledge. Their feet make the three-dimensional world more open. Still, this ability is not the same in every gecko. The smooth glass climber on a window and the ground-dwelling gecko beneath a desert rock do not live by identical rules. Some geckos cling as if the surface welcomes them. Others depend more on claws, speed, hiding, and the safety of the ground. The gecko foot may seem almost perfect, but nature has shaped many versions of the gecko body, and not all of them are meant for ceilings. Not every gecko can cross a window like a shadow. Some geckos meet smooth glass and simply slip. Their bodies still belong to the gecko family, but their feet are built for a different kind of life. The leopard gecko is one of the clearest examples. It is a popular species in homes today, but in the wild, it comes from dry, rocky regions of South Asia and the Middle East, including parts of Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, Iran, and Nepal. Instead of wide, adhesive toe pads, leopard geckos have small clawed toes. Their feet are better suited for walking over sand, gravel, dry soil, and rough stone. They can climb over rocks and low branches, but a clean glass wall gives them almost nothing to hold. A leopard gecko does not need to live upside down on ceilings. It spends much of its life close to the ground. During the heat of the day, it may hide in burrows, cracks, or shaded spaces beneath rocks. At night, it comes out to hunt insects and other small prey. Its survival depends more on shelter, timing, camouflage, and steady movement over uneven ground. This is very different from a house gecko, resting near a porch light, or a day gecko moving across a smooth tropical leaf. A climbing gecko may have broad toe pads that spread like soft little fans. A leopard gecko has toes that look more like tiny fingers with claws at the ends. The difference is easy to see. One foot is built to press flat against the surface. The other is built to step, grip rough edges, and move across the ground. Both designs work. They simply answer different problems. For a gecko living on tree trunks, walls, and leaves, adhesive toe pads can open a whole vertical world. For a gecko living among rocks and dry soil, the same wide toe pads may be less important. Claws can catch on rough surfaces. Strong legs can carry the body between hiding places. A thick tail can store fat when food is not always easy to find. The leopard gecko also has movable eyelids, which makes it unusual compared with many familiar wall-climbing geckos. It can blink. It can close its eyes. It does not need to lick a clear eye covering in the same way many pad-footed geckos do. That one detail makes it feel a little more familiar to humans, even though it is still shaped by a very different world. The contrast is gentle but important. Geckos are not a single design copied across the planet. They are a family of many experiments. Some are smooth climbers. Some are ground hunters. Some live in deserts. Some live in forests. Some move through houses at night. Some rest on leaves in bright daylight. The crested gecko from New Caledonia has soft toe pads and a gripping tail that help it move through trees. The leopard gecko has claws and eyelids suited to a drier, ground-based life. The tokay gecko has strong adhesive pads, a sturdy body, and a loud call that carries through warm Asian nights. The satanic leaf-tailed gecko of Madagascar looks so much like a dead leaf that its body shape becomes part of its disguise. All of them are geckos, but each one carries a different answer to the same quiet challenge. How do you stay alive when the world around you is full of predators, surfaces, shadows, heat, hunger, and hiding places? For some, the answer is to climb. For others, it is to vanish against stone. For others, it is to move at night, store energy in the tail, or retreat into narrow shelter before the day grows too hot. This makes the famous glass-climbing foot even more interesting. It is not simply the gecko foot. It is one version of a gecko foot, one path among many. Nature did not choose only one way to make a gecko. It shaped bodies for bark, sand, walls, leaves, caves, islands, deserts, and human homes. The smooth ceiling walker and the desert ground hunter belong to the same larger story, but their feet remember different landscapes. And once that becomes clear, the wall-climbing toe feels less like a single miracle and more like a solution nature may have discovered, lost, and discovered again, in different geckos, in different places, over long stretches of time. The wall-climbing toe becomes even more interesting when it is seen through deep time. Geckos did not all inherit one perfect climbing foot from one ancient ancestor and keep it unchanged forever. Their history is messier and more beautiful than that. Biologists comparing gecko bodies and DNA have found that adhesive toe pads appear to have evolved more than once. In simple terms, nature seems to have solved the same climbing problem again and again. This is called convergent evolution. That means different animals or different branches of the same larger group can develop similar traits because they face similar challenges. A bat wing and a bird wing are not built the same way, but both help with flight. A shark and a dolphin have different family histories, but both have smooth bodies shaped for moving through water. In geckos, the repeated answer was often a wider toe, a softer pad, and millions of microscopic contact points. Not in exactly the same way every time, not in the same shape in every species, but close enough to show that vertical life keeps asking for the same kind of solution. Imagine a gecko lineage living among tree trunks. The bark is rough. The branches split and turn. The safest hiding places may be above the ground, away from snakes, small mammals, and other predators. A gecko that can grip bark a little better has more places to rest and more ways to escape. Over many generations, small changes in toe shape can matter. A slightly wider toe, a better angle, more contact with the surface, tiny hair-like structures arranged more effectively. Those small advantages can add up slowly, one generation at a time. Now picture another gecko lineage somewhere else. Not on the same trees, not in the same forest, maybe on limestone cliffs, maybe on smooth leaves in a humid rainforest, maybe on volcanic rock on an island, maybe near caves where walls rise cool and dark from the ground. The same challenge appears again. How does a small animal move safely across a surface that is not flat ground? Again, wider toes can help. Again, better contact can open new space. Again, the wall becomes usable. This is why evolution can feel almost like a quiet experiment repeated in different rooms. The materials are living bodies. The tests are surfaces, predators, food, weather, and time. There is no plan being drawn in advance. There is only survival, generation after generation, shaping what works. Some gecko groups kept strong adhesive pads. Some changed them. Some lost them when their lives shifted back toward the ground. That loss matters too. A trait is useful only when it fits the life around it. For a gecko moving through dry sand and stones, strong glass climbing pads may not be as important as claws, sturdy legs, and good hiding behavior. For a gecko on wet leaves, smooth trunks, or human walls, adhesive pads can be a doorway into a much larger world. The places themselves shape the body. A tropical leaf is not like desert gravel. A cave wall is not like a palm trunk. A painted ceiling is not like a broken rock ledge. Each surface asks something slightly different from the animal crossing it. And geckos have answered in many forms. Someday, geckos, like the bright green species in the genus Phelsuma, move through leaves and branches in warm island forests. Some house geckos move across plaster, stone, tile, and glass, near lamps where insects gather. Some leaf-tailed geckos of Madagascar rest flat against bark or dead leaves, using both grip and camouflage to disappear. Some ground geckos stay lower, where speed and shelter matter more than smooth climbing. The toe pads are only one part of the story. They show how strongly surfaces can shape an animal. But a gecko does not survive by feet alone. The same world that shaped the toes also shaped the skin. A gecko resting on bark cannot simply hold on. It must also avoid being seen. A gecko on a leaf cannot only climb. It must match shadow, color, edge, and texture. The animal's body begins to look like the places it touches. The wall-climbing foot explains how a gecko stays attached. The skin begins to explain how it disappears. The skin begins where the foot leaves off. A gecko does not only need to hold the surface, it also needs to disappear against it. The body is covered in scales, but gecko scales are not all the same. Some are small and smooth. Some are raised like tiny beads. Some form rough bumps called tubercles, which are rounded scale structures that can break up the outline of the body. That word simply means small raised lumps. On a gecko, they can make the skin look less like smooth skin and more like bark, stone, or dry earth. The material in those scales is keratin. It is the same basic protein found in human fingernails and hair. In reptiles, keratin helps form a dry outer layer that protects the body from scrapes, water loss, sunlight, and rough surfaces. A gecko sliding under bark or resting in a stone crack needs that protection. Its skin touches the world constantly. It rubs against leaves. It presses into dust. It squeezes through narrow gaps. It rests against walls that may be warm in the evening and cool before dawn. The skin has to be flexible enough to bend, but strong enough to guard the animal underneath. A bright day gecko looks very different from a desert gecko. The gold dust day gecko, often seen in Madagascar, Hawaii, and other warm island places where it has spread, can be bright green with red markings on its face and back. In daylight, on glossy leaves, that green can blend with living plants. The color looks bold to us when the animal is out in the open. But against tropical foliage, it can become part of the background. A leopard gecko has a different kind of skin story. Its yellow body and dark spots can match dry grass, stones, and broken earth in the rocky regions where its wild relatives live. The spots do not make it invisible in every place. They help break the body into smaller patches, making it harder for a predator to read the full shape at a glance. Then, there are the leaf-tailed geckos of Madagascar. Some species in the genus Uroplatus look almost impossible at first. Their bodies are flattened. Their tails can look like dead leaves. Their edges may appear ragged or uneven, like torn plant material. Their skin can be mottled with browns, greys, tans, and faint lines that resemble veins in a dry leaf or cracks in bark. When one rests against a tree trunk, its body does not only match the color, it matches the texture. It changes the outline. A smooth lizard shape becomes a patch of bark. A living animal becomes a small piece of the forest. This kind of disguise is called camouflage. Camouflage does not always mean turning the exact same color as the background. Often, it means making the body harder to recognize. A predator may be looking for a head, a back, a leg, or the clean curve of a tail. Patterns can interrupt those shapes. Raised scales can catch light unevenly. A flattened body can cast a smaller shadow. Stillness can complete the illusion. A gecko that would be obvious while running may almost vanish when it stops. Skin also changes through shedding. Like other reptiles, geckos shed the outer layer of their skin as they grow. Young geckos may shed more often because their bodies are changing quickly. Adults shed too, but usually less often. Some geckos eat the shed skin after it comes off. That may seem strange, but it can help them recover nutrients. And it also removes evidence that might attract predators or parasites. Even this quiet detail serves survival. The gecko leaves less behind. Its body renews itself, and the old covering disappears. Skin, then, is not just a surface. It is armor. It is camouflage. It is a growing layer. It is part of how the animal meets the world. On a wall, it may look pale and simple. On bark, it may become rough and broken. On sand, it may become muted and soft. On a leaf, it may become green enough to seem like part of the plant. The same small body that uses its toes to hold on uses its skin to be overlooked. But hiding is not only about how the gecko looks to others. It also depends on how the gecko sees the world around it. A body can vanish into bark, stone, sand, or leaf. Yet the animal inside that disguise is still watching through the dark. A gecko's color is often a quiet map of where it belongs. Brown geckos often live against bark, dry leaves, soil, or stone. Grey geckos can rest on walls, limestone, pale rock, or weathered wood. Green geckos often move through leaves, stems, and tropical plants. Spots, stripes, bands, and broken markings help interrupt the clean outline of the body. To a predator, a smooth shape is easier to notice. A head, a back, 4 legs, and a tail can form a pattern that the eye quickly recognizes. But when the skin is broken into patches of dark and light, the animal becomes harder to read. The body stops looking like one whole creature. It becomes little pieces of shade, bark, dust, leaf, and shadow. This is why the leaf-tailed geckos of Madagascar are so remarkable. Some species have flattened bodies and wide tails, shaped like dead leaves. Their skin can be mottled with brown, grey, tan, orange, and black. Their edges may look uneven, almost torn, like old leaf margins or loose bark. When one rests against a tree trunk, it does not simply match the color of the bark. It matches the feeling of the bark. A branch that looked empty can suddenly breathe. A small patch of rough wood can blink. A dry leaf can become a living animal with toes, ribs, and a slow pulse hidden beneath the pattern. The satanic leaf-tailed gecko, found in the forests of Madagascar, is famous for this kind of disguise. Its tail can look like a dead leaf, complete with irregular edges and vein-like markings. Its body may be only a few inches long, but the disguise can be so exact that the animal seems less like a lizard and more like a piece of forest floor lifted into life. Other geckos use a quieter kind of camouflage. Mediterranean house geckos are often pale beige, grey, or pinkish white, with soft spots and slightly translucent skin. Against stucco walls, old stone, and dim indoor corners, those colours can make them almost ghost-like. A Moorish gecko on a stone wall may look rough and grey, its bumpy skin catching light in the same uneven way as the rock beneath it. A desert gecko may carry sandy tones that fit dry ground, dust, and pebbles. The colours do not have to be dramatic. They only have to lower the chance of being noticed. Camouflage is not only colour, it is also shape. A flattened body casts a smaller shadow. A ragged tail breaks up the outline. Raised scales make smooth skin look rough. A pale belly may reduce contrast against a bright surface. A darker back may blend into bark or soil. The animal's pose matters too. A gecko pressed flat against a branch looks different from a gecko standing high on its legs. A gecko with its tail lined up along a twig looks less like an animal and more like part of the branch. Stillness finishes the disguise. Movement gives animals away faster than color does. A gecko can remain motionless for long stretches, waiting while light changes around it. In the afternoon, a trunk may be warm and bright. By evening, the same bark may be striped with shadow. After sunset, the wall may turn grey and soft. The gecko does not need to vanish perfectly. It only needs to be missed at the right moment. A bird looking down from above. A snake moving through leaves. A small mammal hunting by scent and motion. A rival gecko crossing the same patch of wall. Each one may pass by if the outline does not resolve into a body. This makes camouflage feel less like a costume and more like a relationship. The animal and the surface work together. The bark lends its pattern. The gecko lends its stillness. The shadow softens the edge between them. For a few quiet moments, the boundary disappears. The gecko is there, but not fully separate from the world around it. Up to now, it has been easy to picture the gecko from the outside. The toes on the wall, the skin against the bark, the colors fading into leaves, stone, and sand. But the animal is not only being seen, it is also seeing. Behind that still body are large eyes gathering the last light of evening, reading a world that grows dim to us, but remains full of shape, color, movement, and meaning to the gecko. Behind the still body, the gecko's eyes are working. Many geckos are nocturnal, which means they are active at night. Others are crepuscular, which means they are most active around dusk and dawn. Those are the soft border times of the day when the sun has lowered, the air cools, and insects begin to move. For many small reptiles, these hours are safer than the bright middle of the day. The heat is gentler. Predators may be less active. shadows create more hiding places. A wall that was too hot in the afternoon may become warm and useful after sunset. A porch light may begin to draw moths, beetles, flies, and tiny winged insects into the air. The gecko waits nearby, pressed against the surface, with its eyes open to the changing dark. A gecko's eyes often look large for the size of its head. That is not only because they are beautiful. Large eyes can help collect more light. In dim places, every bit of light matters. Moonlight, starlight, the faint glow from a window, the pale reflection from a wall, the small movement of an insect crossing a bright patch near a lamp. A human eye can adjust to darkness, but only to a point. After sunset, colors begin to fade for us. Reds become dull, greens turn muted, blue and grey take over the edges of the world. Details soften. A branch that looks sharp in daylight becomes a dark line. A stone path becomes a flat patch of shadow. Our eyes use special light-sensitive cells called rods to see in low light. Rods are very good at detecting brightness and movement, but they do not give us rich color. That is why a garden at night can seem silver, black, and gray, even if the flowers were red, yellow, and purple during the day. The gecko's night is different. Many nocturnal geckos have eyes shaped for gathering dim light with great care. Their pupils can open wide in darkness, letting more light enter. In bright light, some geckos have pupils that narrow into thin vertical slits, or even into a row of tiny pinholes. This helps protect the sensitive eye during the day. At night, the pupil widens again, like a dark doorway opening to receive what little light remains. The surface of the eye is also shaped to focus that light onto the retina. The retina is the light-sensing layer at the back of the eye. It turns light into nerve signals that the brain can use. For a night hunter, that layer must work with very little brightness. A moth shifting near a lamp, a cricket moving along bark, a spider pausing near a crack in the wall, a rival gecko crossing the same hunting place. Each small motion can matter. The gecko does not need the whole world to be bright. It only needs enough detail to judge distance, surface, and movement. Its eyes help it keep reading the world after human vision begins to lose the page. Imagine standing outside in a garden after the last warm color has left the sky. At first, you can still see leaves. Then the leaves become shapes. Then the shapes become soft patches in the dark. A gecko on the wall may still be sorting that dim scene into useful parts. The edge of a branch, the open space between leaves, the pale belly of a moth, the safe crack where its body can disappear, the warm wall beneath its feet. Night does not erase the landscape for the gecko. It changes the way the landscape is read. This is why those large eyes feel so important. They are not only part of the animal's expression, they are part of how it survives. The feet allow it to move through vertical space. The skin helps it disappear against bark, stone, and shadow. The eyes allow it to act when the world becomes quiet and dim. And in some geckos, the darkness holds an even stranger gift. The night may not only remain visible, it may still carry color. For humans, darkness slowly drains color from the world. A red flower at noon becomes a dark shape after sunset. Green leaves turn almost black. A yellow wall becomes pale grey. This happens because the human eye uses two main kinds of light-sensing cells. Cones help us see colour and find detail in bright light. Rods help us see in dim light, but they do not give us the same rich colour. So when the light fades, the human eye leans more heavily on rods. The world remains visible, but it becomes less colourful. This is why a garden at night can feel like it has been washed in silver. The shapes are still there. The colours are quieter. Some nocturnal geckos do something much stranger. They can use cone-based vision in very dim light. That means parts of the eye normally linked with colour can still help them see when the night is far too dark for human colour vision to work well. One well-studied example is the helmet gecko, a nocturnal gecko from dry regions of North Africa and the Middle East. This small gecko has been used in vision studies because it can make colour-based choices under extremely low light. In simple terms, even when the scene is dim, the gecko may still detect differences that humans would lose. Not bright, daytime colour. Not the glowing green of a tropical leaf in full sun, but useful colour information. A small contrast. A pale insect against the surface. A fruiting plant. A safe resting place. A rival. A possible mate. For a night animal, tiny differences can matter. The gecko does not need the darkness to become daylight. It only needs the darkness to contain enough signals to survive. This makes the night feel different. To us, a wall after midnight may look flat and grey. To a gecko, that same wall may be divided into warmer and cooler patches, rougher and smoother areas, light and dark marks, and faint colour differences that help separate one surface from another. The bark of a tree may not be just brown. It may carry subtle bands, pale lichens, darker cracks, and hidden edges. A moth near a lamp may not be only movement. It may have a body that stands out against the background in ways the gecko can use. The science is especially interesting because most nocturnal mammals, including humans in darkness, depend strongly on rods. Many nocturnal geckos come from ancestors that were active in low light, but their eyes developed in a different direction. Instead of using rods in the usual way, some gecko eyes rely on large and sensitive cone cells. These cones are shaped and arranged to gather more light than ordinary daytime cones. The result is an eye that can still handle colour-like information in conditions that would seem almost colourless to us. Picture a quiet desert edge after sunset. The sand has cooled. The sky has faded from orange to deep blue. A small gecko waits near a stone, its body low and still. To a person standing nearby, the ground may look like soft grey shadow, but the gecko's eye is gathering what remains. A faint line where one rock ends. A tiny movement near a crack. A pale insect crossing darker sand. The last scattered light of evening becomes enough to guide the animal. This does not make the gecko magical. It makes it finely tuned. Its eye is shaped by the same calm pressure that shaped its toes and skin. A surface must be held. A body must be hidden. A moving insect must be noticed. A safe path must be read from very little light. The night is not empty for the gecko. It is layered. It has edges, signals, shadows, and soft traces of colour. Where a human mind may see darkness settling over the room, the gecko may still find a map. And those eyes, so useful in the dim world, are also strangely exposed. In many geckos, they stay open behind a clear covering, polished by the tongue instead of closed by a blink. The gecko's eye is built for a dim world, but in many species, it does not close. There is no soft blink passing over the surface, no eyelid sliding down the way a human eyelid does. Instead, many geckos have a clear protective scale over each eye. This clear covering is often called a spectacle. It works a little like a built-in window. The eye looks outward through it, while the covering helps protect the delicate surface beneath. That detail gives many geckos their wide, unblinking look. A house gecko on a wall may seem to stare without pause. A tokay gecko on tree bark may hold its bright eye open in the dark. A leaf-tailed gecko pressed flat against bark may remain still, with the eye exposed like a small glass bead hidden in texture. The animal is not trying to look strange. It is simply built differently. In animals with movable eyelids, blinking helps spread fluid across the eye. It clears away dust. It keeps the surface from drying out. It protects the eye from small bits of debris. Many geckos solve those same problems in another way. They use the tongue. A gecko can sweep its tongue over the clear eye covering and clean it. The motion is quick and precise. The tongue comes out, reaches the eye, wipes across the surface, and returns. It may look almost comical when seen up close, but it is a practical act of maintenance. The eye must stay clear. A dusty eye can blur the night. A small particle on the surface can interfere with vision. For an animal that hunts tiny moving prey, even a little loss of clarity matters. Think of a window with fine dust on it. The room outside is still there. The shapes still exist, but the details soften. A moth wing near a lamp, a cricket leg beside a crack, the slight motion of another gecko on the wall. Those details need a clean view. The gecko's clear eye covering is the window, and the tongue is the cloth that keeps it polished. Not all geckos lack eyelids. Leopard geckos are a familiar exception. They have movable eyelids and can blink. Their eyes can close in a way that looks more familiar to us. This is one reason leopard geckos often seem softer or more expressive to people who keep them as pets. But many wall-climbing geckos, house geckos, day geckos, tokay geckos, and leaf-tailed geckos have the clear spectacle instead. That difference is one more reminder that geckos are not one single design. They are many related designs shaped for many different lives. The unblinking eye also changes the feeling of the animal. A gecko at night can look completely alert, even when its body is still. It does not lower its gaze. It does not close its eyes between moments. It rests with the world still entering through that clear cover. The pupil may narrow in bright light and open in darkness. The head may turn slightly. The body may remain pressed flat against the wall. But the eye keeps receiving. Light comes in. Movement comes in. Small changes in shape and shadow come in. In a quiet room, this can make the gecko seem like a tiny watcher of the dark. Its feet hold the wall. Its skin softens its outline. Its eye stays polished and open. The whole body seems arranged around attention. A gecko is not simply sitting there like a decoration. It is maintaining contact with the surface beneath it. It is keeping its eye clear. It is measuring the space around it. It is ready for the small events that happen after sunset. An insect landing near the window. A moth circling a bulb. A fly moving across the plaster. A cricket stepping out from a dark corner. The cleaned eye is part of the hunt before the hunt begins. It allows the gecko to wait well, to stay still without going unaware, to look through darkness with a little more sharpness than the human eye can manage. And once that clear window is clean, the quiet body on the wall begins to feel different. Not like a resting ornament, more like a small hunter, fixed on the night, waiting for the first tiny movement to cross its view. The gecko waits with its eyes open. Its body may look quiet, but the stillness is not empty. It is a kind of measurement. A house gecko near a porch light may stay in one place for several minutes, pressed flat against a wall while insects gather nearby. Moths circle the bulb. Tiny flies land and lift again. Small beetles crawl across painted wood or stone. A cricket may pause near a crack, its antennae moving slowly through the air. To a person passing by, the gecko may look frozen, but its attention is active. The head is angled toward movement. The eyes are open behind their clear covering. The toes hold the surface. The body stays low, ready to shift forward. Many geckos are insect hunters. Their prey can include moths, flies, mosquitoes, small beetles, termites, ants, spiders, and crickets, depending on the species and the habitat. A gecko living near a human house may hunt insects drawn to lamps and windows. A forest gecko may hunt on bark, leaves, and branches. A desert gecko may search the ground after sunset, when the heat has eased and small animals begin to move again. The details change from place to place, but the pattern is similar. The gecko saves energy by waiting. Then it moves quickly, when the chance is close enough. This kind of hunting is often called sit-and-wait hunting. That means the animal does not always chase prey across long distances. Instead, it chooses a good place, stays still, watches carefully, and strikes when prey comes within reach. For a small reptile, this makes sense. Running constantly uses energy. Exposing the body for too long increases danger. Waiting in a good position can be safer. A wall near a porch light is almost perfect for this. The light attracts insects. The wall gives the gecko a place to cling. The darkness around the edge gives it cover. The gecko becomes part of the hunting place. When an insect moves close enough, the stillness ends very fast. The head shifts. The front legs brace. The body pushes forward. The mouth opens. The gecko lunges. In many species, the jaws do the main work, snapping shut around the prey. The tongue may help move food deeper into the mouth, but geckos are not like frogs with long sticky tongues shooting far out into the air. Their strike is usually a short, sudden movement of the whole head and body. The prey may vanish in less than a second. Then the gecko returns to stillness. A small swallow, a slight repositioning of the feet. The eyes open again. The wall becomes quiet again. This rhythm fits the animal's body. The wide toes keep it anchored. The low body keeps it stable. The tail helps with balance. The eyes keep scanning the dim surface ahead. Even the skin helps, because a hidden hunter can wait closer to prey without being noticed. A moth may not understand that the pale shape on the wall is alive until the shape moves. The pause before the strike is not sleep. It is calculation. Not calculation with numbers, but with distance, timing, and motion. The gecko is judging whether the insect is close enough, whether the surface gives enough grip, whether the movement is worth the energy, whether the path forward is clear. Small hunters live by these tiny decisions. Too early, and the prey escapes. Too late, and the chance passes. Too much movement, and the gecko reveals itself. Too little movement, and it misses the meal. In warm regions around the world, this quiet hunting happens every night. On walls in Florida, on stone houses around the Mediterranean, on tree trunks in Madagascar, on forest branches in New Caledonia, on windows and ceilings in Southeast Asia. A gecko waits, then moves. The night gathers small wings, soft legs, and tiny shadows around it. The gecko reads them one by one, and the wall that seems still becomes a place of hidden action. But the darkness is not only full of movement, it is also full of sound. Some geckos do not pass through the night silently. They click, chirp, bark, squeak, and call, turning the same quiet hunting space into a small world of signals. The wall is not as silent as it seems. Many lizards move through the world with very little sound. They rely on posture, scent, color, head movements, tail movements, and touch. But geckos are unusual. Many of them can call. They can click, chirp, squeak, bark, croak, or make short repeating notes in the dark. The sound may be small enough to miss. A soft tick from behind a picture frame, a faint chirp near a porch light, a tiny squeak from a crack in warm plaster. But in some species, the sound is strong enough to become part of the whole night. The tokay gecko is the famous example. Its scientific name is gecko. It lives across parts of South Asia and Southeast Asia, including India, Bangladesh, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. It is a large gecko, often blue-gray with bright orange spots, and it can grow more than 12 inches long. At night, a male tokay gecko may call from a wall, tree trunk, roof beam, or hollow space in a building. The call is often described as sounding like tokay or gekiko. That sound is where the name tokay comes from. In some places, people hear it so often that it becomes part of the sound of warm evenings. A room may seem quiet. Then, from the rafters or the wall outside, the call begins. A few rough notes, a pause, then the stronger repeated sound. It is not speech in the human sense. The gecko is not using words, but it is sending information. A call can help defend a territory. It can warn another male to stay away. It can help attract a mate. It can also signal alarm when the animal is handled or threatened. For a small animal in the dark, sound can reach places that vision cannot. A gecko hidden behind bark can call without exposing its whole body. A gecko inside a wall crack can make its presence known without stepping out into the open. A gecko under a roof can send a signal through the night air while remaining pressed safely against the surface. House geckos can be vocal too. The Mediterranean house gecko, now found in many warm places far beyond its original range, often makes small clicking or chirping sounds. These may happen during encounters with other geckos, during courtship, or when the animal is disturbed. Asian house geckos can also make short chirps and clicks around buildings. The sounds are usually not loud like a birdsong. They are more like tiny signals tucked into the edges of human hearing. A listener might notice them only when the house is still, when the refrigerator hum fades into the background, when traffic is distant, when insects move near a lamp. Then, from somewhere near the ceiling, a small call rises and stops. The ability to vocalize gives geckos a different kind of presence. They are not only shapes on walls. They are participants in a hidden soundscape. The wall becomes more than a flat surface. It becomes a place where territories touch. A male may call from one corner. Another gecko may answer or move away. A female may hear the signal. A rival may pause before crossing into the same patch of wall. The signals are simple, but they help organize the small lives unfolding after dark. Sound also changes how we imagine the gecko's senses. If an animal can call, it also has to receive sound. It has to notice nearby movement, nearby calls, and changes in its surroundings. The dark is not only something the gecko sees through wide eyes, it is something it hears. A ceiling can hold footsteps too small for us to notice. A branch can carry tiny movements. A wall can pass along faint vibrations when an insect lands, when another gecko shifts, or when something larger moves nearby. The gecko's voice opens the night. It reminds us that the animal's world is made of more than light and shadow. There are clicks in the corners, soft calls near the roof, tiny signals traveling through air, bark, stone, and plaster. And once the gecko is heard, the surfaces around it begin to feel alive with messages we barely notice. Once the night has a voice, the wall itself begins to feel less still. A gecko does not live inside silence the way a human might imagine silence. Even when there is no loud call, no obvious movement, and no wind against the window, the surfaces around it can carry tiny signals. A moth landing near a porch light makes a faint touch against the wall. A beetle crawling over bark sends small pulses through the surface beneath its legs. Another gecko shifting its weight on the same branch may create a vibration too soft for human skin to notice. To a small animal pressed close to the world, those tiny movements can matter. Geckos have ears, and in many species the ear opening is visible as a small hole on the side of the head. Inside, like in other vertebrates, sound vibrations are carried inward toward the inner ear. The inner ear helps detect sound, and in many animals it also helps with balance and motion. A gecko climbing on a wall has to know where its body is, how it is tilted, and how its feet are holding. That sense of position matters when the animal is sideways, upside down, or stretched between two surfaces. Hearing is only one part of the sensory picture. The body itself is in contact with the surface. The toes touch. The belly may hover just above the wall or press near it. The tail may rest lightly behind. Each point of contact can become part of the animal's awareness. A wall is not just a wall. It is a sheet that can carry small messages. A branch is not just a branch. It is a living path that bends, trembles, and passes along the motion of insects, wind, rain, and other animals. A leaf can shake when something lands on it. A piece of bark can shift when a rival climbs nearby. A ceiling can carry the faint tap of tiny feet above a room. Some animals are highly specialized for sensing vibrations through surfaces. Spiders feel trembling in their webs. Frogs can detect vibrations in water and soil. Many insects use plants like quiet communication lines. Geckos are not usually described as extreme vibration specialists in the same way, but their lives bring them into constant contact with surfaces that move. A gecko that is listening, watching, and touching the wall at once is receiving more than one kind of information. A sound in the air may tell it that another gecko is nearby. A flicker of movement may show where prey has landed. A slight tremor through a branch may reveal that something larger is approaching. These signals can overlap. A cricket does not only appear as a shape. It may also make sound. It may move the surface beneath it. It may leave chemical traces too faint for us to notice. A predator may arrive with heavier clues. The scrape of claws, the bend of a twig, the low vibration of weight moving through wood, stone, or plaster. For a small lizard, danger often arrives before it is fully seen. A snake moving along bark, a bird landing on a branch, a rat shifting near a wall, another larger gecko entering the same space. Each can turn the surface into a warning. The same is true for social life. A calling tokay gecko sends sound into the night air, but its body is also braced against a surface. A house gecko chirping near a ceiling may be close enough for another gecko to hear the sound and feel tiny movements nearby. Mates, rivals, prey, and predators share the same physical world. Air carries some messages. Surfaces carry others. The gecko's senses gather them quietly. This makes the animal's stillness feel even more alive. When it pauses on a wall, it is not cut off from the world. It is connected to it through eyes, ears, feet, skin, and balance. The wall beneath its toes may be smooth to us, but to the gecko, it is part of a wider field of signals. A place that can hold warmth, carry scent, reflect light, and tremble with small life. Still, no amount of sensing makes a gecko completely safe. Sharp eyes can miss a sudden strike. Good hearing cannot stop every predator. A body tuned to tiny signals still lives in a world where danger can arrive quickly. And when escape must happen at once, one of the gecko's strangest defenses is waiting in the tail. Danger can arrive faster than thought. A gecko may be resting on bark, stone, plaster, or dry ground when a predator comes close. A bird may strike from above. A snake may slide along a branch. A rat, cat, frog, larger lizard, or even another gecko may lunge from the side. For a small animal, a single grab can decide everything. This is where the tail becomes more than balance. In many geckos, the tail can be released from the body when the animal is threatened. This is called autotomy. The word means self-cutting, but the process is not random tearing. The tail has special breakpoints built into it. These weak zones allow the tail to separate when enough pressure is applied, especially if a predator grabs it. The muscles and blood vessels are arranged so the gecko can survive the loss. The break happens quickly. The body pulls away. The tail is left behind. And then something very strange happens. The detached tail may keep moving. It can twitch, curl, flip, or wriggle on the ground for several minutes, depending on the species and the condition of the tail. The movement comes from nerves and muscles that remain active for a short time after separation. To a predator, this can be confusing. The moving tail is bright with motion. It looks like prey. It draws attention away from the escaping body. The gecko may slip into a crack, under a stone, behind bark, or up the wall, while the predator focuses on the piece still moving nearby. The tail becomes an emergency decoy, a distraction offered at the exact moment when the gecko needs distance. It is a costly trick, but sometimes a life-saving one. A tail is not useless decoration. It helps with balance during climbing. It can store fat, especially in species like leopard geckos, where a thick tail may hold energy for times when food is scarce. It can also be part of communication. Some geckos lift, wave, curl, or move the tail during social encounters, threat displays, or hunting moments. Losing it changes the body. A gecko without a tail may move differently. It may have less stored energy. It may be more exposed in future encounters. But compared with being eaten, the loss is worth it. This defense is found in many lizards, not only geckos. Skinks, anoles, and other small lizards can also shed their tails. But in geckos, the image is especially striking because so many of them already seem delicate. A small animal clinging to a wall, with glassy eyes and soft toes, carries a built-in escape plan behind it. The tail can be sacrificed so the body can continue. For a predator, the difference between tail and body may not matter in the first second. Movement captures attention. A wriggling tail on the ground may hold the predator's gaze just long enough. That short delay can be everything. A few inches of space, a crack in the wall, the underside of a leaf, the dark opening beneath a rock. Survival can depend on a moment that brief. The gecko does not calmly choose in the way a person chooses. Its body is prepared by evolution. The weak points are already there. The muscles are arranged for release. The nerves in the tail can keep firing after it separates. The whole system turns a terrible moment into a possible escape. In the quiet after, the gecko may be hidden, breathing, alive, but changed. The wall or branch has gone still again. The predator may have taken the tail. The gecko's body remains. That is the purpose of the sacrifice. Not to avoid all harm, not to make danger disappear, only to let the living animal continue. Escaping, though, is only the first part of the story. A lost tail leaves a space behind, and the body must begin the slow work of replacing what was given up. After the gecko escapes, the missing tail becomes part of its life. The body has survived, but survival has a cost. Where the tail broke away, the wound begins to close. Blood loss is usually limited, because the tail is built to separate at special breakpoints. Muscles tighten. Small blood vessels narrow. A seal forms over the end of the remaining tail base. The gecko does not grow a new tail instantly. Regeneration takes time. Depending on the species, age, health, temperature, and food supply, a replacement tail may take weeks or months to grow. In a warm, safe place with enough insects to eat, the process can move more steadily. In a cooler season, or when food is scarce, it may be slower. The body has to spend energy on rebuilding tissue that was lost. That energy could have gone to growth, movement, egg production, or stored fat. This is why the tail is a sacrifice, not a free trick. The new tail often looks different from the old one. In many geckos, the original tail contains bones called vertebrae. These are the small linked bones that form the backbone and continue into the tail. When the tail regrows, it usually does not rebuild the same chain of individual bones. Instead, the replacement often forms around a simpler rod of cartilage. Cartilage is firm but more flexible than bone. It is the same kind of material that gives shape to the human nose and outer ear. So the new tail may bend differently. It may be smoother. It may be shorter. It may be thicker or more rounded. Its pattern may not match the original stripes, spots, bands, or colors exactly. A leopard gecko that loses a thick patterned tail may regrow one that looks more bulbous and less neatly marked. A house gecko may regrow a tail with a slightly different texture or shade. In some species, the new scales may be arranged more simply than before. The replacement does the job, but it is not a perfect copy. It is repair, not restoration. That difference is important. Regeneration can sound almost magical, as if the animal simply grows back what was lost and returns to the same body it had before. But biology is often more practical than perfect. The gecko's body closes the wound. It builds a working tail. It restores balance, some movement, and in some cases a place to store fat again. But the replacement tail carries the history of what happened. It is a living record of escape. The animal may also behave differently after tail loss. A gecko without a tail may hide more. It may avoid risky open spaces. It may move with extra care while balance returns. If the lost tail held stored fat, the gecko may need to feed well before it regains that reserve. In the wild, this can matter during dry seasons, cooler months, or times when insects are harder to find. For a small reptile, stored energy is not just extra weight. It is a quiet safety supply. The tail can also change how other geckos see it. In some species, tail size and movement may be part of social signals. A missing or regrown tail can affect displays, courtship, or conflict. The animal is alive, but its body has been altered by danger. Still, the ability to regrow anything this complex is remarkable. Skin, blood vessels, nerves, muscles, cartilage, and scales all have to form in the right place. They do not appear as a finished tail all at once. The new tissue grows from the base outward, slowly lengthening over time. The surface closes. The inner support develops. The skin covers it. Scales form across it. Little by little, the empty space becomes a tail again. A repaired tail may not be the same, but it lets the gecko continue climbing, hunting, hiding, and balancing through the small surfaces of its world. The old tail was a price paid to remain alive. The new one is the body's quiet answer. And after danger, escape, and repair, the story softens toward another kind of beginning. Not the rebuilding of a lost part, but the first hidden start of a new gecko life inside a small, protected egg. A new gecko life often begins out of sight. Not in an open nest like a bird, not in a soft bed built from twigs, but in a small hidden place where the egg can rest quietly. Many geckos lay 1 or 2 eggs at a time. The eggs are usually small, pale, and rounded. Some are soft when first laid, then harden as the outer shell changes. Others are firmer from the beginning. A gecko egg may be tucked into a crack in bark, hidden under loose wood, placed beneath a rock, buried lightly in soil, or set inside a gap in a wall. In houses and warm buildings, some geckos may use spaces behind shutters, roof tiles, cabinets, window frames, or ceiling corners. These places are not chosen because they look special to us. They are chosen because they offer quiet protection. A good egg site helps guard against heat, dryness, flooding, predators, and being crushed. For a small reptile, the right hidden place can make the difference between life continuing and life ending before it begins. Some geckos lay eggs with sticky outer surfaces that can attach to walls, bark, leaves, rocks, or other sheltered surfaces. The egg may be glued in place, holding firm while the young gecko develops inside. This is useful in vertical habitats, where an egg left loose might roll away, fall, or become easier for a predator to find. Other geckos hide their eggs in soil, sand, leaf litter, or protected ground spaces. A desert or ground-dwelling gecko may use the earth itself as shelter. The soil can help keep temperature and moisture more stable than open air. A rainforest gecko may choose a humid crevice where the egg is less likely to dry out. A house gecko may use a building gap that stays warm through the night. The egg is a tiny sealed beginning. Inside it, the young gecko develops slowly, using the yolk as food. The yolk is the stored supply of nutrients placed inside the egg before it is laid. It feeds the growing body until the hatchling is ready to leave. The shell helps protect the embryo, which is the developing young animal inside. The shell also has to allow gases to pass through, because the living embryo needs oxygen and gives off carbon dioxide. So the egg is not just a hard container. It is a small life support system. It protects, stores food, and allows quiet breathing through the shell. The time it takes for a gecko egg to hatch depends on the species and the temperature around it. In many common gecko species, incubation may last around 1 to 3 months. Warmer conditions often speed development, while cooler conditions can slow it. This is why a warm wall, a protected attic space, or a sun-heated crevice can become important. Temperature is not just background. It shapes the pace of life inside the egg. In some reptiles, temperature can even influence whether young develop as male or female, though the details vary by species and do not apply the same way to every gecko. The hidden egg carries the future quietly. There is no parent sitting on it, no constant feeding, no soft call from above. Many gecko parents leave after laying. The egg remains where it was placed, protected mostly by location, shell, and luck. A pair of pale eggs in a wall crack may sit unnoticed for weeks. A glued egg beneath bark may become part of the tree's texture. A buried egg may rest under grains of soil, warmed and cooled by the slow passing of day and night. From the outside, almost nothing seems to happen. But inside, the body is taking shape. The head forms. The spine lengthens. Tiny limbs develop. The eyes grow. The tail appears. The toes begin preparing for the surfaces they will one day touch. The same world of walls, leaves, bark, stone, and shadow is already waiting. And when the egg finally opens, the creature that emerges is not helpless in the way many young animals are. It is small, soft, and vulnerable, but it often arrives with the shape of survival already built into its body. When a gecko egg finally opens, the animal that comes out is already shaped like a gecko. It is not a blind nestling waiting for food. It is not carried around by a parent. In many species, the hatchling enters the world as a tiny version of the adult body. The head is formed. The legs are ready. The toes can grip. The eyes are open. The tail is already part of balance, movement, and escape. A newly hatched house gecko may be only a few centimeters long. A leopard gecko hatchling is larger, often around 3 to 4 inches from nose to tail, but still small enough to fit easily in a human hand. A day gecko hatchling may emerge bright, quick, and delicate, already prepared to move through leaves and branches. The scale is smaller, but the problem is adult. It must find shelter. It must avoid being eaten. It must locate food. It must manage heat, dryness, surfaces, and darkness. For many geckos, there is little or no parental care after the eggs are laid. The young animal begins alone. Its first world might be the inside of a bark crack, a warm wall gap, a patch of soil, or the underside of a leaf. The egg has protected it for weeks. Then the shell breaks, and the shelter becomes the outside world. Some hatchlings use a small temporary structure called an egg tooth to help open the shell. This is not a real tooth for chewing. It is a tiny point used during hatching, and it is usually lost afterward. Once free, the hatchling may rest for a short time while its body adjusts. Then it must begin the quiet work of living. A baby gecko often feeds on very small prey: tiny flies, small ants, termites, newly hatched crickets, mosquitoes, soft-bodied insects near leaves, lamps, soil, or bark. The prey has to match the size of the hunter. A moth that would be easy for an adult gecko may be too large for a hatchling. So the young gecko searches for smaller movements. A speck crossing the wall, a tiny insect under a leaf, a small shape near a damp crevice. Its body is already tuned to motion, but the margin for error is thin. A missed strike costs energy. A dangerous place costs more. A predator may be only slightly larger than the hatchling itself. Spiders, birds, frogs, snakes, larger lizards, and even adult geckos can all be threats depending on the habitat. A baby gecko does not have the size or stored energy of an adult. It survives by being small, quick, hidden, and careful. Camouflage begins to matter immediately. A pale hatchling on a pale wall may be overlooked. A mottled hatchling on bark may vanish into the rough surface. A tiny ground gecko can pause among grains of sand and dry leaves, letting stillness hide the shape of its body. Climbing also begins early in species with adhesive toe pads. The same basic design that helps an adult climb is already present in miniature form. The toes are smaller. The body is lighter. The surfaces are just as large and dangerous. For a hatchling, the underside of a leaf can feel like a roof. A crack in bark can become a canyon. A wall seam can become a protected path. The whole world is enormous, but the rules are familiar. Hold the surface. Stay hidden. Watch for movement. Move only when needed. Find warmth, but avoid overheating. Find food, but avoid becoming food. Growth comes in stages. As the hatchling eats, its body grows, and like other reptiles, it sheds its outer skin. The old skin becomes too tight. A new layer waits underneath. The young gecko may shed many times as it grows, each shed marking a small change in size. The tiny animal becomes a little stronger, a little heavier, a little more able to claim space in the world around it. Still, the hatchling is not a different kind of creature from the adult. It is the same survival design reduced to a finer scale. The same low body, the same alert eyes, the same need for surfaces, shadows, insects, and shelter. From a hidden egg comes a complete little climber, hunter, and hider. And from these small beginnings, geckos have spread into an astonishing range of warm places across the planet. From one tiny hatchling, the story widens into a whole world of geckos. They are found on every continent except Antarctica. That absence makes sense. Geckos are reptiles, and like other reptiles, they are ectotherms. That means their body temperature depends heavily on the temperature around them. They do not warm themselves internally the way birds and mammals do. A gecko needs warmth from the sun, from stone, from bark, from walls, from soil, or from the air itself. This is why geckos are most common in warm parts of the world. Tropical forests, dry deserts, rocky islands, coastal villages, rainforest branches, limestone caves, palm trunks, garden walls, house ceilings. They are not all using the same world in the same way. Some live in humid forests where leaves stay broad and glossy. Some live among rocks where the day can be hot and the night can cool quickly. Some move through desert edges, waiting until evening before they leave shelter. Some live on islands where cliffs, trees, lava rock, and human buildings create many small hiding places. A gecko in Madagascar may press flat against bark, with a body shaped like a dead leaf. A day gecko in the Indian Ocean may shine bright green against tropical plants. A house gecko in Florida, Hawaii, Southern Europe, or Southeast Asia may rest near a porch light, using human buildings as hunting grounds. A leopard gecko in dry Asian landscapes may stay close to the ground, moving among stones, soil, and burrows instead of glass and ceilings. The same basic animal keeps changing with the place. Low body, careful feet, alert eyes, scales, tail, small prey, hidden shelter. But each habitat adjusts the details. In a rainforest, moisture matters. The air can be warm and heavy. Leaves can hold drops of water. Insects may be abundant. A gecko there may need good climbing, strong camouflage, and a body that can move through layered plants. In a desert, the problem is different. Heat can be dangerous during the day. Water may be limited. Food may appear in pulses, often after rain or during cooler hours. A desert gecko may hide beneath rocks, in cracks, or in burrows until the temperature becomes safer. Its colors may match sand, pale stone, or dry earth. On islands, geckos can become especially varied. Islands often create separated habitats where small populations live apart for long periods. Over many generations, those groups can change in their own direction. Madagascar is famous for this. So is New Caledonia, where the crested gecko lives among trees and shrubs. The crested gecko was once thought to be lost to science for many years before being rediscovered in the 1990s. That kind of story shows how easily small nocturnal animals can remain hidden, even on land people have already explored. Caves add another kind of world. A cave wall is cool, shaded, and full of cracks. Insects may gather near entrances. The light fades quickly as the cave deepens. A gecko living near such places has to navigate rock, shadow, and uneven surfaces. Human buildings create still another habitat. Walls hold heat after sunset. Roofs create shelter. Windows attract insects. Electric lights gather moths, flies, and mosquitoes. For some geckos, a house is not only a human space. It is a cliff, a cave, a tree trunk, and a hunting ground combined. This global spread does not mean geckos are all the same. It means the gecko body is flexible enough to be reshaped by many warm worlds. One version belongs to bark. One belongs to sand. One belongs to leaves. One belongs to stone. One belongs to the quiet wall beside a lamp. Across deserts, forests, islands, caves, and houses, geckos keep finding surfaces to hold, shadows to hide in, and small prey to follow through the night. Their success becomes especially clear when they live close to people, not as pets in glass tanks, but as small wild neighbors sharing our lights, walls, ceilings, and warm corners. The wild neighbor on the wall often arrives because of light. A porch light turns on after sunset. A window glows from inside a room. A garden lamp warms the air around a path. To people, these lights are ordinary parts of a house. They help us see steps, doors, driveways, and quiet outdoor spaces after dark. But to many insects, artificial light can become a powerful signal. Moths, flies, beetles, mosquitoes, midges, and other small night insects may gather around it. They circle bulbs. They land on walls. They rest on screens. They move across glass and painted wood. For a house gecko, that glowing area can become a hunting ground. The gecko does not need to build it. People build it by accident. A wall beside a lamp offers a surface to cling to. The light draws prey. The roof edge, shutter, drain pipe, or window frame gives shelter. The warmth held in brick, plaster, stone, or concrete after a hot day can make the spot even more useful. Many common house geckos have learned to live in this kind of human-made habitat. The Mediterranean house gecko, originally from parts of the Mediterranean region and nearby areas, has spread widely into warm places around the world. It is now found in parts of the southern United States, Mexico, Central America, South America, and many other regions where buildings offer shelter and warmth. The Asian house gecko has also spread far beyond its original range. Ships, cargo, plant trade, and human travel have helped some small geckos move from one warm place to another. A tiny egg hidden in a shipment of plants. A small gecko sheltering in cargo. A population beginning near buildings where insects are easy to find. Human movement has quietly carried some geckos across oceans. Once they arrive in the right climate, houses can give them what they need. Walls become cliffs. Ceilings become branches. Roof gaps become crevices. Window frames become ledges. Outdoor lamps become insect traps that never run out in warm seasons. A porch at night may look simple. A bulb, a white wall, a few moths, a still gecko near the corner. But the scene is really a small ecosystem. The light changes insect behavior. The insects bring the gecko. The gecko hunts the insects. Spiders may build webs nearby. Frogs, birds, cats, or larger lizards may sometimes hunt around the same area. A single lamp can gather many small lives into one quiet circle. House geckos often benefit from being tolerated by people because they eat insects. In many warm countries, a gecko on the wall is seen as normal. It may be left alone because it helps reduce mosquitoes, flies, and other small pests. It does not need much space. It does not chew wood. It does not seek human food in the way mice or roaches might. It mostly asks for insects, warmth, hiding places, and safe surfaces. During the day, a house gecko may hide behind a picture frame, inside a roof crack, beneath loose bark near a building, behind a shutter, or in the narrow space between a wall and a pipe. At night, it may return to the same hunting places again and again, near a light, near a window screen, near the corner of a ceiling where insects rest. Its body uses the same old gecko tools in a new setting. Adhesive toes grip painted walls and glass. Large eyes watch for movement in dim light. The tongue cleans the clear eye covering. The skin blends into pale plaster, stone, or shadow. The tail steadies the body as it turns. Sometimes, a soft chirp or click gives away where it is hiding. This closeness to humans can make geckos feel almost domestic, even when they remain wild. They are not pets in these moments. They are small animals making use of the world people have built. Our buildings create warmth. Our lights gather insects. Our walls provide vertical ground. Our roofs and cracks provide shelter. Without meaning to, we have made places where certain geckos can thrive. And so, the first image returns. A small lizard on a wall after dark. Only now, it is not just a shape near the lamp. It is a climber, hunter, listener, survivor, neighbor, and quiet master of surfaces. The small shape on the wall is easier to understand now. It is still a gecko, still light, still quiet, still resting near the edge of a lamp, a window, a tree trunk, or a warm stone after sunset. but it no longer feels simple. Under each toe is a hidden system of dry attachment. No glue, no slime, no suction. Just tiny hair-like structures, branching into smaller tips, touching the surface closely enough for weak molecular forces to add together. One tiny contact point would mean almost nothing. Millions of them can help hold a living animal against glass. Then, with a change in toe angle, the same foot can peel away and step again. The gecko does not break gravity. It works with details too small for human eyes to see. Its body is built for surfaces that humans do not use as paths. Walls, ceilings, leaves, bark, stone, cave entrances, window frames. A branch can become a bridge. A ceiling can become a floor. A crack in a wall can become shelter. The gecko's world is tilted, layered, and full of edges. Its skin belongs to that world too. Scales protect the body. Patterns soften the outline. Browns, greys, greens, spots, stripes, bumps, and leaf-like edges can make the animal fade into bark, sand, stone, plaster, or living plants. Camouflage is not only color, it is stillness, shape, shadow, texture. A gecko on a branch may look like a small patch of bark until the bark breathes. The eyes add another layer of quiet strangeness. Many geckos are active at night, dusk, or dawn. Their large eyes gather dim light from moon, stars, windows, and lamps. Some nocturnal geckos can still use color vision in conditions where human eyes would see mostly gray. The night is not empty to them. It is a map of faint edges, tiny movements, pale insects, dark cracks, and safe surfaces. Many geckos do not blink. A clear protective scale covers the eye like a tiny window. The tongue sweeps across it to keep it clean. That unblinking stare is not only strange to look at, it is useful. A hunter in the dark needs a clear view. The gecko waits. It watches moths, flies, beetles, termites, mosquitoes, crickets, and small moving prey. Its stillness is not rest. It is attention held quietly in the body. Then, when the distance is right, the pause ends. The head moves. The jaws open. The insect is gone. And the wall becomes still again. The darkness may also carry sound. Some geckos chirp, click, squeak, bark, or call. The tokay gecko is famous for its loud repeating voice, carrying through warm nights in parts of South and Southeast Asia. A wall at night can become a hidden soundscape of territory, courtship, warning, and presence. Air carries some signals. Surfaces carry others. A branch, leaf, ceiling, or wall can tremble with tiny messages from prey, rivals, mates, or danger. Even with sharp senses, danger remains close. Many geckos can drop the tail when threatened. The tail may keep moving after it separates, distracting a predator while the body escapes. Later, the gecko may grow a new tail, but the replacement is often different. More like repair than perfect restoration. Survival leaves a record behind. Then life begins again, in hidden eggs, tucked into bark, soil, crevices, leaves, rocks, or building gaps. From those eggs come small hatchlings already shaped for adult problems. They must hide, hunt, climb, shed, grow, and avoid predators almost at once. Across the world, geckos have carried this design into deserts, rainforests, islands, caves, houses, rocky slopes, and tropical forests. Every continent except Antarctica has some version of their story. And now the image returns to one small gecko near the light, its toes resting on the wall, its eye open and polished, its tail curved softly behind it, its body holding physics, evolution, vision, sound, escape, and renewal in a form most people barely notice. A quiet animal, a tiny survivor, a little piece of science breathing softly on the wall.